This is the most basic knowledge you'll need to have to get started with VBA. No programming knowledge required, and we're also not going to cover any theory about objects and variables and all that. We will cover in a very practical way how to develop your procedure, which can be as long as you like without typing a single programming word. Welcome to KISS Excel VBA, where we hope to inspire you to create your own Excel-based applications. To do this, we need to start from the very beginning. The first thing we need to do is to enable the Developer tab. This can be done by right-clicking anywhere in the ribbon and selecting Customize ribbon. Then check Developer. Once we do this, we have the Developer tab in the ribbon. Let's go ahead and push the very first button on this tab. This displays the VBA window, which you can also pull by hitting Alt F11 on your keyboard. I would recommend that you position Excel and VBA windows so that both are visible at the same time. This will help us see the code generated in real time without having to switch all the time from Excel to VBA and vice versa. Here you can see the Project Explorer, and all open projects will be listed here. By projects, we mean Excel files in whichever extension, mainly workbooks and Excel add-ins. Each project contains a folder-like structure. The first one is Microsoft Excel Objects, and it contains one component for each sheet and one for the workbook. Let's go ahead and record the macro. Before clicking anywhere, we notice that a new folder was added for storing the module, and the module is added automatically. When we double-click the module, we notice that a sub and end sub line are added automatically along with comment lines. Let's go ahead and select a cell. This writes range A5.select above the end subline. We can do almost any action in Excel and that will be recorded. Does this mean that whatever I record I can play it back and it will do the same actions? That's exactly what it means. When we press run, it takes our code line by line and plays it. That is absolutely mind-boggling what we can do with that. You can create procedures to repeat actions. Here are two practical takeaways. Let's say that you need your name inserted in the selected cell, or say you need the date and time in the selected cell. Let's record. I enter the name in the cell, and that's it. Stop recording, delete unwanted lines, and let's test. Let's say now that you want the current date and time inserted with one click. Let's record. I enter date and time with the formula now. Copy, paste as values, escape to get rid of the ants around the cell, and stop recording. Let's test. The macros are tested and ready for usage. We need a button in our sheet to trigger the macro. We can insert a button from the Developer tab or a shape, picture, clip art from the Insert tab and assign that macro. You can understand if an object is capable of triggering a macro upon clicking, because when you right-click it, it gives you an option to assign macro. So if drawing a report takes you 2-3 hours or 2-3 days, depending on complexity, next time you produce it, why not have the record macro on and see what comes out? What if the 2-3 days can be reduced to 15 seconds? A new horizon is open now for you to explore and test what you can do with this. Let's see an example, and I need to hold my promise not to type anything into VBA. In this example, I'll work on Excel doing some basic copy-paste formatting, so I'll speed this up. Okay, I have spent a couple of minutes on this report with the record macro on, so let's delete everything and start the report again from scratch and see how long it takes to run. Super, it runs instantly. Now, we have our macro in our workbook and a button linked to the macro. When we open the file, we can enjoy the privileges of playing the macro either from the VBA or using the button in the workbook. But what if I want to use the same macro in other workbooks as well? Is that possible? Of course it's possible. We can run the code from VBA to any workbook if the code refers to the active workbook, but the button is located inside the file. Thus, when we push the button, the active sheet will always be the one that has the button. What if we copy the button to the other workbooks that we will need it? Yes, that will work. The new button is assigned to the code entered in the initial book. If you were to close the file that contains the code and push the new button, you will notice that the code file opens again automatically because the button refers to the code entered in the initial book. And in fact, we can create one file that will have only the code you want, no data in the sheets, and we can then open other workbooks. The code will be available to run in all workbooks. This is the concept of an add-in Excel file. This can be used if you are extracting data from a system and you want some code to be run into it. For example, you have your data drawn and you run some statistics. In this case, the extract from the system will obviously not have your code in it, but you can have the code stored in a separate file. Just open both files at the same time, activate the extracted file, and open the macros interface. Select the macro and run. You will want to save the file that contains the code as .xlsm or .xls so that it can carry the code. So what did we learn here today? Heavy users of Excel will find VBA extremely useful. There's no need to have programming knowledge to write VBA macros. We learned how to record the macro, how to play back from VBA or from a button, how to play it back in other workbooks, and in which format to save macro-enabled workbooks. Recording macro is great, but sooner or later it's guaranteed that you will bump into problems. Problems where the code will not run properly. Follow me on the next video where we break the barrier and we start writing and explaining code. If you can do a simple if formula in Excel, you have absolutely nothing to fear. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe if you feel I've earned it, and remember to always keep it super simple.